So this is a paper 2 question on trig modelling. So it's 18 marks. It's just doing some trig modelling and using it, but it's really nice to see how it walks it through contextually. So the first part of the question, and anytime you do any trig, I would really recommend drawing the graph or adding information onto your chart that can really help to understand what we're doing here. So we're told that it's a sine curve, so it starts in the center, goes up and then goes down and so on. And it's modelling the height of the water on this island and whether or not you can get to the road. So basically, at midnight on Tuesday, the time starts, it goes up to a high tide at 3:36 in the morning, which is a height of 1.26, and then the minimum tide. And it's only this small section here where the water is low enough that you can actually get access to the road. So what we're going to do first of all is just label on the information that we've been told there. So the highest point, it tells us that it happens at 3:36 in the morning. It would be a common mistake to write that as 3.36. However, time is not measured is a decimal or is like a base 10. It's actually in a base 60. Okay, so it's 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, and so on. So we're going to write that as 3 and 36 out of 60 because it's 3:36. So 36 out of 60 is the minutes. And the height there is 1.26. We then have the low tide, which happens at 10 and 48 over 60 because it's at 10:48. And that tide is 0.26 meters. Okay. So now that we've got the information drawn on that we were given, we need to find the value of A, which is the amplitude, D, which is the principal axis, and then the period, which is B. Now, although they're asked in that order, I'm actually going to change the order here slightly, and I'm going to answer B before I answer A, because D is the principal axis, and I know that for me, finding the principal axis is often the easier part. So the principal axis is just finding the middle of 1.26 and negative 0.26. So the middle of those is just by finding the average or the mean. So I'm going to add them together and divide by how many I've got, which is 2. And if I type that in, I find I've got a principal axis of 0.5. So I'm now going to draw that onto my graph as 0.5. Then I can go back to find my A value, which is the amplitude. So that's going to be the difference between the maximum height and the 0.5, the principal axis. So that is 0.76. Okay, so I now have the value of A and the value of D. And then part C is to find the period of the wave. So if I'm measuring the period, I can go from the full length of the wave. Now, what I could do is do from the maximum to the minimum, find that distance there, and then I could multiply that by 2 to find the full distance or the full period of the wave. Okay, so that's probably going to be the easiest way of doing that. So to find the measurement, I'm going to take the minimum value of x, so the 10 and then 48 over 60, and I'm going to subtract the smaller value. Yes, it looks a little bit different because they have the fractions, but I'm just subtracting the two values, and then I'm going to times that answer by 2. And that gives me 72 over 5. So the period of the wave is 72 over 5. And it asks me to find the period of the function in the hours. So yeah, that's the 72 over 5. Now 360 divided by that is then 25, and 25 is what I then use in my formula. So for part D, the model h of t is 0.5, which is, it's 0.76, which is the height of the wave, the amplitude, times sine, and then it's 25t, and I have the plus 0.5 for the principal axis at the end. So now I have the full equation of my model. So for part E, I'm then finding the value of h of t at 230. So 230 is 2.5 because 30 minutes is half an hour. So it's 2.5. Okay. I'm actually going to write this out properly. So h of 2.5. And this would be enough for your working out. Now, personally, what I would do here is actually graph the whole equation. So 0.76 sine of 25x and plus 0.5. So now I have the graph modeled. We can change the windows. So we want it to go from 0 to, let's say, 2. I'm actually going to put -1 just so that I can see the axis a little bit clearer. So sorry, the x-axis, yeah, -1 through to, let's say, 24 or 25, I'm going to put it as. And the y is going to be -1 to 2. There we go. And now I can see the graph as it looks in my diagram. So if I'm finding h of 2.5, I can now just find the value of 2.5, and I can see that it's just 1.16. So 1.1, oops, let's just move that across. There we go. So 1.17. And then that's the height of the water, and it's measured in meters. And then for part F, state the meaning h of t is less than 0. So h of t is less than 0 is just when the road is accessible. So the water level is lower than the road. Okay, which means that the road is accessible. And then for the last part, we need to find the length of time when the road is accessible. So it's the answer here. So the length of time for this one, it happens a couple of times. So one of them is this bit here. Let me do that a little bit smaller. And then it happens again here. The second one is not for too long, but this one is obviously for a little bit longer. So we have those two sections. So this is why it's great to draw it on our graph. So we're now going to find the zeros of my curve. So I have one somewhere around here. So it crosses at 8.87 or 8.846 even. 8.872, sorry. So 8.872. Then it crosses again, so I'm just going to find my zeros between here and here. So this is at 12.73, and it actually happens again over here. At 23.27. There we go. So now that I have all of the different points where it crosses, I can work out the time. So between these two, there is an amount of time that I can access it. And between here and 24 hours, because that's where it stops, again, I can access the road. So I now need to subtract those values to find out how long. So 24 minus, and then it's 23.27. So this is 0.73 that I can access the road. And let's just go back to my graph because we go. Because this is not to 3 significant figures, so it's 272. There we go. Because when I do that subtraction, I've then lost my 3 significant figures. So there we go, 0.728. So I'm just going to change that, making sure that we're always to 3 significant figures. And then we can do the second one there. So we have 12.73 minus 8.872. So that's 3.858. And therefore, the amount of time that I can access the road is this answer plus this answer. And therefore, I can access the road for 4.59. 4.59. And that is measured in hours. Okay. Now, it doesn't ask us to leave it in minutes or anything, so 4.59 would be fine. If we wanted to change that to minutes, then we can, but we would need to change the 0.59 into minutes rather than hours. So 59 out of 60, so for example. But we can leave it as just 4.59 hours. In terms of the marks for this question, the first part is 2 marks for finding A. So 1 is for the method, for correctly understanding what you were trying to find, and then 1 is for the answer. It's the same with part B, part 2. So 1 for the answer, 1 for the method. Then it's 3 for this one. 1 is for correctly realizing that you needed to write it as time rather than just a decimal. 1 is for the method of understanding that you needed to subtract the 2 and times by 2, or for finding it with the other maximum point if you wanted. And then there is the answer mark there as well. And then there is 3 marks for the, here we go. This is the answer mark. And then there's 3 marks for part D. 1 is for correctly substituting in this, correctly substituting in this, and then correctly substituting in this. And it's for realizing that this was 25, not the 72 over 5. And then part E, that one is 2 marks. So again, 1 for showing some sort of method and 1 for your answer, and that would be enough method shown. Stating the meaning, this is just 1 reasoning mark, so it's reasoning what that means in context. And then the last part is 5 marks. So it is 1 for this part here, 1 for this part here, 1 for your answer, and then 1 is for the method that you've shown in recognizing that there was this section and this section and that you had to find the difference between them. Okay. If you'd only done this section, for example, some people might miss that there was this other section here, then that would be 2 marks because you missed the answer and then you missed this part here as well.